Call this meeting to order, the regular meeting of October 12th, 2021 at 6:30. First item on the agenda is approve the minutes from the regular meeting held on September 28th, 2021.
I make a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting held on September 28th, 2021.
I'll second that as you weren't here for that meeting. So. All those in favor?
Aye.
Next item on the agenda is audience of citizens. I see we've got a few folks here. Anybody have anything to say? Go ahead, Gary.
Just a couple of quick questions. Has EDC had any lookers into the Smith & Wesson building or reached out to anybody?
I don't know if EDC has. I spoke with the owner of the building. The thing is, Smith & Wesson is probably not going to be gone for a couple of years. They're moving, but they haven't even broken ground where they're moving to. So they're going to be there for a couple of years. So Scott is trying to figure out how you line someone up for a building that's not empty. At the same time, I did speak with another company who was looking at some of our space in our industrial parks, and they were just curious, and they're going to be speaking with the owner. So I don't know what EDC has done. I'm sure that they're reaching out on their own, but I've spoken with the owner and with a prospective tenant, but I don't know.
So
it's a big space to fill.
Scott Goodspeed still owns it?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I didn't know if Smith & Wesson owned it. Yeah, I didn't realize that.
I heard that they're going to be out of here in a lot less than 2 years. So that's my thought.
I haven't spoken directly with Smith & Wesson. I spoke with Scott. He's got 2.5 years left on his lease. He's anticipating it's a couple of years before they're out of here. You know, it's obviously it's a big blow to the town, tax revenue wise, and it's a lot of jobs for the state. So and it's a big space, so we're going to do our best to fill it up.
Space.
You know? But right, you know, it was, you know, the first thing I heard about it, the first time I heard it was through the news.
That's when I heard it. It was on the news. Yeah.
So we'll, you know, we're going to try to get together and see who we can attract here.
All right, and anything on the bank building?
A number of people have made offers on the bank for different things, but the bank has not sold it. At least that's what I'm dealing with the real estate agent. I haven't dealt with the bank at all on that, but you know, people are interested in it, but no one has pulled the trigger yet.
I know the Pandemonium Rainforest, the thrift shop. We walked it, and I don't recall, but there was an offer made, and they wanted a lot of money for
No,
it.
I know the sky's a number, but
Well, you can ask anything you want, but
I mean, but they're still paying taxes to the town.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I mean, it's still a tax base, but
Yeah, not as much.
it'd be nice not to have an empty building at the end of Main Street.
No, we'd love to fill that space. Absolutely. You know, it was like pulling teeth to get them to mow the lawn down there this summer. So,
Yeah.
that was kind of you'd think they'd take a little better care of their piece of property, but yeah.
All
yeah.
right, that's all I have. Thank
Thanks.
Thanks, Gary.
Anyone else?
Yeah,
Go ahead, Ron.
I heard the Schaefer machine shop got sold out there in the park.
I had heard that.
Yep.
I haven't been able to speak with who, you know.
And another manufacturer's moved in.
Great.
Oh, nice.
Bought the building. And
That's
it's
good.
good today.
It's good news.
Well, I know that I was a renter over there, but I rented there, and I know my landlord said that as far as rentals, it was tough to find somebody with a good credit score. And he finally found somebody to move into my place, let alone a place the size of Schaefer. So I'm glad that's happening. Excellent.
Good. Anyone else?
Any word on St. John?
No. No, they declared bankruptcy. We're arguing with them about whether or not they should be paying taxes. We believe they should. We've sent them a bill, we've liened the property, so we're in line on their bankruptcy. But, you know, that's an ongoing argument. As far, I'd love to see it sold, and there are a couple of projects that are kind of parallel to each other, but it's really up to the church as to whether or not they sell the property.
So, how about police presence up there? Are we spending a lot of time up there? I mean, I heard there's a lot of vandalism.
There has been some vandalism up there early on.
They boarded up the lower
They
windows. right?
boarded up some
Yeah.
windows. We're up there. They've got cameras around there. Now we go up there. We don't spend an inordinate amount of time up there. We go up there when we're on duty with crews.
Is that the only entrance in there physically?
There's an emergency access that comes out on Winter Avenue. That's a difficult road. Right now, that's impassable. We've got to get up there and fill it in. The rains this summer washed out the gravel.
That exits by the sewer treatment plant,
Yeah.
right?
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's not a through road, it's emergency access.
Yeah, one more thing.
Sure.
How's our enforcement on the speed limit in town here?
Depends who you ask. We, in the last year, we've pulled over 500 people. Only one of those was a repeat offender, and he got a ticket. The majority of the speeding in town, based on our efforts with our recording devices and with the police themselves, is between 10 and 12 miles an hour above the speed limit. I know there are people speeding, there's people speeding everywhere. We've increased our patrols, we've increased our presence on the roads. Like I said, we've got about 500 more people pulled over this year than in the past.
Are there any local towns that still have local tickets?
I believe Chester has local tickets, and
Because Essex had them for a long time too.
yeah, I don't know if they do or not. I know that Chester does. The administration of that can be kind of cumbersome.
Well, do they have a resident in Chester?
Yeah.
Oh, they do?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Shoot,
Because,
yeah, right.
because we put the whole bill basically down for residents.
Yeah.
You can have local tickets.
Yep.
And I would just think the local income would be,
Well-
even if you collect 60%, you're still getting something.
Well, frankly, the benefit to that is not so much the income. There would be some, probably closer to a wash in my research with Chester, is they don't make a whole lot on it, between managing it and all that kind of stuff. The benefit is you can issue tickets because you don't have to set the fee as high as it is when the state issues a ticket. You know, and that's, you know, it's not, it's difficult, I think, for officers sometimes to write a ticket for someone who, you know, a $300 ticket. I mean, it's a week's pay for people, you know, it's a week's childcare for people. And the benefit I see to local tickets is you can reduce that a little bit and still issue a ticket.
Well, I just know because I got a ticket for 2 tires on the sidewalk in Essex. And I had to pay a tax.
2 tires on it, yeah.
On
That's
the sidewalk.
yeah.
I did, it was a one-way road.
Yeah,
So I tried to give people room, so I put 2 tires on the sidewalk.
okay.
And I got a $63 ticket.
Yeah. No, I got a ticket in Chester many years ago for, I was just parking on Main Street. And I pulled in across the way, so I was facing in the wrong direction.
Oh.
They said, "You're driving in the wrong direction."
Yeah.
Even though you were parked. Yeah.
I
But
wonder if I gave you that ticket.
it very well be. Anyway,
While we're on the police issue right now, was there any complaints or anything up in my neighborhood on Monday night, on Monday morning?
I didn't hear any, but I can check.
I guess there was a resident, one of our neighbors' car was ransacked,
Mhm.
and that person happens to be an officer of the law also.
Mhm.
So, just getting a little close to our neighborhood, you know?
No, I saw that on the ring update.
Yeah, I think there was one in Ivoryton or something, I thought I heard,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's still happening.
It's definitely still happening.
still
We, you know,
happening.
you guys know I had my car stolen in Christmas
Yep.
time, and someone was there 4 in the morning. My wife woke me up and said, "There's somebody outside." So, you know,
What was
That was
I think it was the night that your
last-
car was stolen, that we found a set of keys in our, I was flying. I wasn't even in
Right.
town, and my wife freaked out because there was somebody in the driveway, and there was a set of keys found in the driveway.
yeah.
And you turned them in. It's like, holy crap.
So it's still there, and it's the
Yeah.
important message is for people to lock
Yeah.
your cars, lock car doors. You know, you hate to think that way, but that's what we have
I'm
to
just
do.
curious, because this is an officer of the law's house, so.
No, I know.
Mm.
Yeah, they just don't.
They don't care.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
And they know that they can't be chased. Anything.
Until the laws change.
Just want to know how to protect my property.
Anything else?
I'll say thank you.
Okay, next item on the agenda is appointments. The visiting nurses representative, Mike Spanner, has volunteered to fill that role. That role doesn't have a time to exceed here, but I'm gonna tell you, it's 3 years from the date of appointment.
Okay.
So if you appoint him tonight, he will be,
Has he done it in the past, or is this?
he has not done this in the past, but he's been on our community health committee for quite a long time.
I'll make a motion to appoint Michael Spanner to a 3-year term for the visiting nurses.
I second that.
And all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, next we have a guest here tonight. Joe Comerford is the Executive Director of the Estuary Transit District and the Middletown Area Transit District now. And he's here to make a presentation. 2 weeks ago, I spoke briefly about this. I talked to you about it.
Yep.
And we invited Joe here. We'd like to, in the end of this, if you guys agree, to make a resolution so we can support the expansion of the estuary transit. Joe, you want to come to the table?
Sure. Thank you. Thank you for having me. I think everyone got some of the information in advance, but I'll give a brief overview of it, then answer any questions you may have. So back in 2017, it's really the COG and state, after the Middletown Transit District had some very public financial issues. It was kind of all over the media. The COG and the state said, well, let's look at some potential options for how we can do transit better in the county. Estuary had problems 12 years ago, financially nothing to the level of Middletown, but luckily our first selectman came in really early. Dick Smith, of course, was one of them. They came and helped prevent a collapse, but it's something that's happened around the state for small districts. So, like I said, the COG and the state said, well, let's study this and see, is there a better way we can do it? So the state provided funds for the COG to do a study. We did that study back in 2018, I believe we started that. We got the results just right before the pandemic started. And what it came back with was recommending that the two districts merge together. And we looked at various options. We looked at keeping two districts. We looked at merging them. We looked at just kind of sharing services together, not fully merging. And the most cost-effective was to just merge the two. And so since that time, and so that was February of 2020, the recommendation came out. So since that time, both the boards of the two districts, the state, and the state have been working together to come to agreement on how that might look in a way that would be beneficial to both districts. And so we kind of gotten to a point now where both the boards have done resolutions supporting it, and now we're kind of coming back to towns to say, make sure that every town's on board with it too before actually agreeing to admit the new towns in. And kind of the way it will physically work is because Estuary Transit District is larger, we're 9-member towns, Middletown's only 3, it made sense for just those 3 towns to join the 9.
What 3 would Middletown?
It's
Middletown.
Middletown, Durham, and Middlefield.
Oh, okay, all right.
So-
I didn't know that. I thought that was just the city of Middletown. Yeah.
It was until
Okay.
until their financial problems. The
Okay.
city of Middletown realized it made sense to try to have more members,
Okay.
to have a larger board, more better oversight, and not be in it all alone. So it was easier to have those 3 towns join Estuary than have all 9 towns join
Okay.
there, or even to create a whole new district from scratch and have to dissolve 2. So the way. Again, there was 2, both districts were very thinly staffed. So in the whole plan, there was no loss of any positions. In fact, there's even adding some positions because that was one of the things that really was determined was why these districts keep failing is because they're not large enough to have all the staffing needed. You guys know as running a small town, number one, how you have to wear lots of hats because you all know that small town does a lot of the same things as a big town or city, but with a lot less people. Same for transit districts. You also know about administering federal grants. We are a direct recipient, both agencies are direct recipients of federal grants. A lot of our funding is federal, and so we have a lot of regulations on us for how that money is spent and administered.
Does it have anything to do with, does the size, does it help when it comes to getting in the grants now that it would potentially, it looks like it's gonna be bigger? Or are
so-
there different grants or just the same ones?
It's the same ones,
Okay.
same pot of money, but in Connecticut, we have a very large pot of money in Connecticut
Okay.
on the transit side. So being a larger district definitely helps in terms of justifying why us and not another district, because it's not so, it's kind of odd. It's really the word to the metro area. but then it has to be negotiated between every single transit agency in that metro area, including rail. So we're up against rail, we're up against CT Transit and every other bus system in the state, locally, not at the federal level. The federal amount's set, but with DOT, we're kind of trying to say, okay, here's all our projects and why you should fund our projects over some other projects. And the bigger size certainly gives you more clout for a lot of reasons. And one, it's more efficient, right? You have here, will say, well, we're doing this for 40 buses, not just 20. So there's a lot more projects that might say, well, that was a lot of money for a 20 bus system. It's not a lot of money for a 40 bus system. And your cost only goes up by a little bit by adding all those extra vehicles. So there's a lot of efficiencies on the capital side that can be achieved. And technology, technology is a growing expense for us. So having the technology, the ability to be able to invest more in technology where it makes sense is important because people expect it. The service area, of course, will expand, even though we currently do go to Middletown. Mostly, initially, it'll be really some on our demand response side, which is dollar ride type services, because we already have routes that go between each other. So it will just improve those connections in that we're now looking at how we can time them to actually all meet each other better so people can transfer easily between different services and routes. Separately, as part of the study, we did a service study, which is a whole other piece of that, which we plan to implement. Those are some of the free recommendations. There's a lot that costs money that we're looking at, but those are some of the free ones. It'll also make it easier in terms of fares. We'll have one fare structure between us, so that's one big barrier, right? Just have to buy this fare and that fare. To have one fare across systems, of course, makes it easier to travel among systems. And then it gives us the opportunity, like I said, as part of the service study that we did, it gives us opportunity for new areas to improve service and expand it in the future if funding becomes available. It also looked at facilities. So back in 2016, we had actually done a study for a facility. We're one of the last transit districts to not have a facility. And we had just completed it when the state said, hold off. Because we're going to fund this other study. So it will avert some costs there. We were looking at, it was going to be really a standalone facility that could do everything we needed to do. Together, we need a smaller investment in capital. It saves a few $1 million on the capital side to do. What the plan is to utilize the existing building that's up in Middletown, up on North Main Street. The state is, within days, should be closing on property across the street from that to build a maintenance facility that we shared between the two districts, and then put us a satellite facility, but a small operating facility on the shoreline that will have the ability to store the vehicles and do light repairs and preventive maintenance. So the stuff that is more scheduled, easy to schedule and frequent. We could do down there, but and send major repairs up to Middletown, where we'll have a larger facility. So part of the implementation, like I said, there are some new positions required. There's going to be some obviously expenses with the buildings coming online, and the state has committed to us that the local towns will not be expected to contribute anything additional towards any costs of the two agencies merging. The only extra cost would be if we decide to implement some of the new service recommendations that we come up with the study, or some future ones, But it would be something that's locally driven that we say, okay, we want to expand service.
The no cost, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but the no cost, that's building these satellite and building maintenance?
They're covering all the costs of the facilities. They're going to cover all of. There's about 1.6 million in other capital costs required, getting us on all the same systems, radio systems, dispatching systems, phone system, computer system, all those things to make us talk to each other. Some support vehicles, stuff like that. They're covering all of that, which they always do. That's part of our arrangement with the state. Is most of our things are funded either 80% federal or 20% state, or sometimes 100% state. We never put in any local money for capital, so we're fortunate in that regards. And there's also some cost in making the benefits the same between the two agencies. So yeah, both sides need some changes to get equal to each other. And so the state has committed that they will cover that cost in the letter that we received Friday, right? Thursday, Friday. Now it's as we mentioned here, it is a non-binding letter, but it is signed by the commissioner committing to the funds. So while we can't technically sue them, we do. That's kind of been our position all along. Even if we had a legally binding document, we are probably not suing the state of Connecticut. So our real report, yeah. So we all feel that a letter from the commissioner committing to these expenses is a good enough commitment to move forward. So as so there's 1.6 million in land acquisition, again about 1.6 million in various capital, also some planning studies, because there's obviously a lot of planning to do to get everything combined. Construction of facilities is another 27.4 million.
How long will it take to construct those? Is there a timetable for that?
It's the state of Connecticut.
Oh, yeah, that's true. I didn't even think when I asked that, so that answers that question. Yeah, that answers that question.
Yeah, we're hoping 5 years, but that's probably optimistic. But as I said, they're within a week or two, if not sooner, of closing on the property in Middletown to do the maintenance facility. So that went quicker than
But you don't need that building to continue to do the service. It's just something that you want.
We don't, right? We
for the
need that
efficiencies
building
and-
eventually.
right.
Yes.
But it's not going to disrupt service because that building's not done or the
It just
satellite's
means-
not acquired. Yeah.
It just means we have the contract
Right.
service longer.
Okay.
So it does prevent us from getting to that full integration, really.
Yeah.
But it doesn't. It's just means maintenance is. Even though we're already starting to do it, we do have a single maintenance bay in Middletown, just one. So we are doing some maintenance in-house, but obviously one maintenance bay is not going to maintain 40 buses plus like 6 support vehicles. Not with the amount of miles we do. Combined, we're over 1 million miles a year, about 1.2 million. You're not going to,
No.
you can't do that in one day. So, but it just means we are phasing in doing the maintenance in-house instead of being able to do it quicker than that. And the shoreline facility, we've operated that way a long time. It certainly will be nice, but until then, we'll continue on. But that too, there's some good prospects there that I think that one of the sites we're looking at would be a joint site with rail, and that they're really moving on quicker. So if that one works out, we might see that move quicker. So there's movement. That's fair to say, I guess.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, like you said, the state is very interested in the property for rail, and this just ties right in. Obviously, the rail is the king of the world these
Right.
days, but to put the two together, I think would be good.
Yeah.
And the DOT is hot on it, so
It's
it
even
could
better.
very well happen.
Yeah.
And from what I've also been told, they're really excited about the prospect of putting the two on there.
Mhm.
So, but I don't know. I guess I both speak from the side of dealing with the state a lot. So maybe our definition of they're moving quick is different since we've been doing this too long. But
Absolutely.
it gets frustrating for some of our other board members from the private sector. But it's probably one of the quicker I've ever seen the state move in my
No
years
question.
doing this.
Even in this particular project,
Yeah.
that is something that when we started this, they gave us deadline dates that they wanted us to be done by, which were very, very aggressive. we did our best, and we got to where we were going to be able to. As soon as we sent them something that said we were going to do it, well, no, wait a minute, that's way too fast for us. It's been really an interesting project, and Joe has very much helped the boards, but the combined boards get us to this point. I think really the important part to remember is the efficiencies that are going to be driven by this are not going to cost us any additional any fees.
Well, that was my concern.
More than what would, the annual fees that go up occasionally
Yeah,
every year,
right.
that kind of thing. It's not going to drive any additional expenses. So that's number
And the
one.
services
And
will
number
stay the
two,
same, if not increase.
the big thing for this estuary transit board is that we will only improve the services that we're able to, that we're already providing. There's no services that are going to be cut as a result of this, and the potential for increased service is great. So, all of those efficiencies really is what drives it for me.
And we've also been assured that if any operational savings we do achieve, which there can be some, particularly on the demand response side, is where we have some opportunities because we overlap, and so sharing people and being able to dispatch the vehicles together, I expect we will save some money there, can be reinvested back into new service. So they don't expect us to take that and pay for one of the other expansion-related items. They're funding that, and then anything we might save, we keep, towards service.
When you were talking about the expansion of services, if it happens, I guess it's going to happen, was it 13 towns, 14? What's the total number gonna be?
So initially,
It's 3
it'll be
towns.
12. However, a lot of other towns do.
Well, that's what I was gonna
We've already
say.
got more towns that want to
I don't know
join.
how many towns there are in Middlesex County or.
There are 17.
17, so we're
and-
close.
And at least 16 of them want to join.
Okay.
And there's potentially one other, that's
Yeah.
interested too.
Okay.
So, yeah, there's a lot of interest from the other towns. We've actually had to say, wait until, let us get these towns in, let us get it going, and then we'll invite more towns in. But we already serve on contract Haddam and East Haddam and Durham. So they're just not members. So we already do cover 12 towns. Middletown, in addition to the 3 member towns, also serves Portland and East Hampton. So we will, right away, it will cover 17 towns, pretty much right there.
Is there gonna be a name
16
change?
towns, right?
Yes.
It's not gonna be MAT anymore, and it's not gonna be 9 town, there must be a name.
So-
It's minor
Yeah,
detail,
so,
just.
so the legal name will stay the same, because we've always, operated under, both districts operate under DBAs anyway. And one of our studies we're going to conduct is whole rebranding and marketing, because obviously there's a lot involved in
Because
that.
if somebody from down here is in Middletown, they see a MAT vehicle, that doesn't go down there.
Yeah,
So they're
unfortunately,
gonna-
initially there will be some of that.
There's gonna have to be some
because
sort
of
of
the
common
expense.
branding to let people know that aren't in the
We're
know.
gonna, there'll be some interim where
Yeah.
we'll move vehicles around, you might see different ones, because it's just so expensive to paint a bus. We,
Paint or wrap is one of mine.
yeah, and so, we will probably replace them as they go, just because it's the most cost-effective way. But the point of doing a study and all that for the brand, like I said, there's a lot involved in branding, there's a lot involved with a new logo, there's a lot involved with making sure you're marketing it right and telling the public, communicating well to the public. Our brand's a lot of places, from the buses to bus stop signs to your website, redesigning all of your website. There's going to be a lot involved in
Yeah.
it. So we do have that funding now to start that study. We have $100,000 to do the marketing and rebranding. But the other thing was we didn't want to go into this with a new name or brand already. It's something we don't want anybody feeling left out with the process. We want to make sure it's an inclusive process because, like you said, it's a fun and silly thing, kind of, but it's not. To a lot of people, people, it's a good way to bring people in. It's also going to be a good way to push people out of it if they feel like they were already
Change
right
is
off the
hard.
set
Changes.
pushed out. So we want a nice inclusive process so that all the towns feel like they're involved in this new brand. Angus, though, that was one of the first things people said. We don't want to give up our green and blue buses. That was one of the first things, right?
No, this is really personal for this
Because
board.
Because our board members worked hard on building that brand.
Yeah.
We had no brand 12 years ago.
That's right.
And we've worked hard on building it. And that really was one of the first things was we're going to lose our brand. Well, yeah. But we're going to build a new, better, stronger brand.
Right.
It's
We
the
will.
biggest hurdle. And what's, I think, part of the concern that people have is that this is the first time this has happened in the state. This is it really is a pilot program for combining smaller transit districts
And
and
it's
this
rare around
across
the
the state. And it will save the state a lot of money in the end. But this is the first one, so we're the first ones down the road. You know, we're hitting bumps that other folks won't have to because we're
Yeah.
going through it.
We'll learn and they'll learn from
Now,
us.
when the maintenance shop is finally built, we'll say 5 years, who's gonna pay for that? The operating budget or the state?
It'll be a combination. There'll be a combination because some of it obviously we're already paying to an outside contractor.
But
So-
when you hire employees, it's a lot more than just paying them. You got the whole wrap up, you got the benefits and everything else.
So far, the state has already paid for a maintenance director who is running the 2 fleets already. So we already have a number of shared employees. So that's one that they covered the full cost of that employee, you know, his salary, benefits, everything. So we were able to add that on no cost to us. And now that's how we were able to start using that maintenance bay in Middletown because they built that single bay, but they never really had the operating budget to truly run it. They had enough money to hire one mechanic. Well, you know.
That's my question.
Yeah.
It's hard to you can't just really throw one mechanic. They might be a great mechanic. They might not be so great at managing their work and, you know, at managing the shop, buying the parts, doing all the other things that are involved. It's not just fixing the bus. There's a lot more to it than that. And they struggled they struggled with that a lot and understandably so. So, you know, we knew that up front that you need to have a 40 bus fleet, you need to have a maintenance director. So the state has already covered that, and that's how we were able to then go back and start taking stuff in-house, which we're already doing that in Middletown fleet because we've been able to now hire a mechanic that was under the MAC existing budget because they had already budgeted for that. But now he has direction. Now he actually has a maintenance director. Now, you know, it's a maintenance director that we told right away, you're going to get dirty. Plan that you're going to do some work yourself
You're
too.
a hands-on director.
Yes, which he absolutely is. But point being, already they have shown where they will step in and fund those things. But even things,
It's just a continuation. You
yeah,
know,
right. Some will fit in the budget, some will not.
Next thing you know, all of a sudden the state, you know, we have different administration or whatever, and all of a sudden we're starting to cut, and all of a sudden, oh, by the way, it's gonna cost us an extra $20,000 a year, or whatever it may be. Those are my concerns as managing the town of Deep River.
That's happened even with the smaller transit district,
Yep.
in certain state budgets or certain administrations. And I will give kudos to all of our, not only Deep River's representatives, but the representatives of all the towns that are served by the Estuary Transit District really stepped up and applied a good amount of pressure.
Yep.
And we did not suffer the losses that were threatened during some pretty difficult budget times.
And those are my concerns
And
going,
those are legitimate concerns.
going
yeah.
forward.
And we did look, and that was actually another one of the reasons actually to do it was because, you know, when you're looking at, instead of having $2.5 million agencies, when you have about $5.5 million agency, you're looking at, let's say in the past we've gotten 2% cut. You could more likely be able to find a 2% cut in your budget without hitting service than if you're just a $2 million budget and you really don't have any overhead. So it actually was a reason why, you know what, if you have more flexibility when you have a larger budget, when you have a cut. So the hope, of course, is that we don't get a cut and that they continue their commitment, but that if there is, you know, we can try and, again, not that we designed a top-heavy organization at all, but there definitely be a lot more opportunity to find some savings
I'm
without.
not looking for cuts, I'm just looking for,
That's the big thing.
you know, a nest egg to protect everybody.
Well, and that too, that's right. Yeah, we'll have a much stronger reserve. I mean, already together, like quick math is, we'll probably be right off the bat about $900,000 fund balance between the two agencies. So we'll have a pretty strong reserve as well, which we've been building for 12 years.
Yeah,
Uh,
estuaries,
and
they're
estuary.
very, very strong.
Yeah, we're almost 600,000 ourselves,
Yeah.
and Middletown's building up quick, and so they're about 3 now. So, the towns up there also contribute a larger share of the budget up there, so, which is helped that grow fast. But you know, we're keeping again the due structure the way it is now, because a lot of that's just based on how much the state historically has paid in for operating expenses. There's no one formula. Yeah, I think that's kind of a quick overview of it. And as I said, our board just was looking to the towns before they finalize anything to make sure that the towns are all on board, and that they vote the will of the towns. The city of Middletown has already, their council voted last week to move forward, and Middlefield and Durham are looking at early December to do their town meetings to join.
I think Lyme and Old Lyme have already voted to move forward.
Lyon,
Or to
Old
agree to
Lyme.
this, yeah.
Then I got Westbrook and Clinton's today.
Mhm.
So they both met today.
Yeah. Chester tomorrow.
That's right, Chester's tomorrow, and
Is that
there's
what town meeting, or we?
No, it doesn't go to town. Because for Middletown, Durham, and Middlefield, it does because they're actually disbanding their board, but we're just expanding ours. And it really, I'm not sure that we have to do this, but I think it's the most transparent way to talk about, you know,
yeah, the
what we're
board
doing.
has all the authority to accept them, but
It's
they all felt that, rightfully so, that they should know the town support it before they go make a big decision like this.
Yeah.
Killingworth has already done it too.
Okay, yeah.
Killingworth.
That's the thing on the board. There are only, I think there are three or four selectmen on the board of the 9 towns. The rest are representatives for the selectmen. So, you know, when we make decisions, the board makes a decision, it has to go back, the news goes back to the selectmen, then comes back, all that kind of thing. So I think I know the board all felt pretty strongly that we should go to our towns, let the towns know what's happening, let the board of selectmen make the call. The only other thing, Joe, that was very good representation of what we're trying to do.
Much better than
much
you
better
did.
than mine last 2 weeks ago. But the only thing I want to do is really give a shout out to Joe and to Estuary Transit for during COVID. These guys really drove the bus literally drove the bus when it came to getting people to get tested, and then when it came to getting people to get shots. I mean, free rides to people. It was really all I did is call up Joe and ask, and a day, you know, within a day. You know, just call this number, we'll get people there. So it was really a
That's-
tremendous effort.
That's kind of the way
Supposed to work.
little towns, you know, it's supposed to work.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be a family. It's supposed to be people helping people.
That's.
So I compliment you on that
Well,
also.
thank you. That's why I believe so strongly in the transit district model. Our state has 2 models, CT Transit, which is the state, and transit districts. And I think that's why this transit model works so well, district model works so well,
Yeah.
because you have that relationship with the towns and we're able to move quick. You know, you don't have to go get state approval. We were fortunate to have the CARES Act funds, and we were able to use those to move people to appointments. And we did get a good number of people
Yeah.
going to both testing initially, and then we were able to very quickly pivot and turn to vaccinations when that happened. So it's been, it was and of course, most of all to our drivers who have drove through this.
Absolutely.
You know, they were out there every single day. We didn't cut service. We were out there because, you know, we move essential workers and people going to doctor's appointments, so we couldn't stop.
So what do we need, a motion?
Well, we have a resolution that you guys have in front of you.
Can we ask questions?
Sure.
So, what rail system are you talking about?
So the state has 3 rail systems: Shoreline East, Metro North, and the Hartford line. So all 3 of those are also funded under some of the same programs as us.
And the tie to them, I don't know if maybe I'm putting words in your mouth, Ron, is that the facility down there might be a shared facility between us
Yeah.
and them.
Yes.
Am I not?
Shared facility where?
Okay, So,
The old Sabre for the
yeah.
satellite that he was talking about.
so the state is looking for a rail maintenance facility somewhere around Old Saybrook, Westbrook. And so it has created a potential opportunity to co-locate on a site. And as Angus said, the real benefit there is, yeah, state always loves rail. And any rail project is gonna move very fast and have a lot less blockades in the way.
Yeah.
And they also have more staff on the rail side to do right-of-way acquisition.
But we're not, the new group is not teaming up with rail.
No,
It's,
not-
I'm just clarifying that it's only possibly going to just co-locate for maintenance of
facility.
this new entity between Middletown and Deep River because of the location and all that.
because
But it's not like a ride sharing, you can hop on a bus here in Deep River and buy a ticket to go to New York City through the bus.
Well, you can, because we do, all of our service does start and end at the Old Saybrook train station.
Right, but you won't buy one ticket from, or,
Eventually.
well, that's,
Yeah, that is part of one of our mini studies, the fare collection study, and
okay.
and that eventually is the plan, that we have one fare throughout the whole state,
Nice.
and that you can use it across rail as well.
That's a
Technologically, are we there yet? Is the question. It's a little,
All the-
it's a little, yeah, it's a little aspirational right now. It should, hypothetically, it should work just fine, but it has, but no. So that's just strictly facility-wise. But because we get so much funding from the state, we really, even though we're an independent entity, we very much are partners with rail. We do projects together. You know, we are, rail and bus. Rail really is codependent on bus because it's, the first mile, last mile issues. Once you get to the first train station, you gotta get from it, and bus can do that.
So I just want to clarify, so what you're saying is, you're gonna have either Westbrook or Saybrook, there's gonna be a facility down there to work on trains and work on your vehicles?
There'll be separate facilities, possibly at the same piece of land.
Where is the rail facility now?
There is
New
not
Haven.
one. Right, there's only New Haven. So they are looking at a major investment in shoreline service, which would also necessitate a maintenance yard up this way. I don't know that that's finalized and that's a definite plan, but it's something under consideration at the moment to improve shoreline service.
Okay.
And so, while they're buying property, one of the sites they're looking at is larger than what they just need. So it could be a good use of the property to kind of make two uses out of it.
What's the revenue of this?
Fair revenue or total revenue?
Total revenue, money coming in?
It's about 2.3 million.
And so Middletown failed, is that what you're saying?
No.
They were near. They had trouble, and they were.
So what was the
it was all financial. It was just spending more spend more expenses than revenue.
Why? What is, well, I don't understand. So what you're saying is you're gonna still hire them people that,
No, not
no,
at all,
no,
not at all.
no.
The board of directors was not overseeing the management of the district at the level that they should have been, at the level that Estuary Transit District manages our funds, our operations. Now, remember, boards are not intended to manage operations, but they're intended to oversee. Middletown was not overseeing properly. They are now. They're caught up, and as Joe indicated, they have already gone from a $900,000 deficit up to a $300,000 surplus. That's within a year. So they are moving in the right direction.
okay.
And this merger or this expansion of Estuary does not absorb any debt that Middletown might have had. That's Middletown's to deal with. Middletown's in the state. This only moves us forward. It does not pull anything in from the past.
And all of the administrative staff is gone from Middletown time. The only staff that was over, operations staff, bus drivers, people who had absolutely nothing to do with it, who were just doing their job.
Right, there's gonna,
They're gonna stay.
Yeah.
Yep, all of those staff stay. All the staff that were responsible for the problems of the past are gone, or have already left. So it's entirely new people there. And as I said earlier, a lot of shared staff already. So,
Yeah, including Joe.
yep, including myself for the
And
past
that's a
almost 2 years now.
That's a big reason as to how
2 years next month.
Middletown has got themselves back on track, is Joe's efforts up there. So you guys have a resolution in front of you. It's short and sweet, and I'm happy to read it into the record, or if one of you wants to read it in a motion, that's fine too. But the resolution is, the Board of Selectmen of the Town of Deep River does hereby support the combination of the Middletown Transit District and the Estuary Transit District into an expanded Estuary Transit District. I'm sorry.
No, I didn't have that. I'm just reading here.
Shoot, we made copies
Got a lot of
for you.
paper, but.
No, we made copies for you. Shoot,
Well, I'm reading yours as your,
there you go. No,
nope.
let me make a copy. Be right back. Sorry about that.
Joe, you may have touched on it. Are they looking into alternative fuel sources moving ahead?
So actually, another one of those things that with our larger size, so Friday Thursday, we got the letter saying that from the DOT saying we're moving forward. They also then, because we were moving forward, I don't think Angus knows this yet, but I had a call with them on some vehicle replacement, and they told us that with us getting the new facility and us now having a maintenance staff, we're getting 2 electric buses. They're going to order them
Nice.
in the next few
That's
months.
great.
In their next order. So we should get them in 1.5 to 2 years. That's about the lead time on building them. So we will be getting into electric bus
That's great.
this very soon, in Middletown, because that's where we own a facility and can do the infrastructure side needed. But the Shoreline facility will, the state is adamant, and we support 100%, that it will be outfitted for electric vehicles. Every transit facility being built now, the state is requiring it be outfitted to be able to charge every vehicle that will be in there, which makes smart, which is,
Well, that's another,
Our infrastructure has to be fixed first.
the electrical, yeah. Yes.
So the resolution reads, the Board of Selectmen of the Town of Deep River does hereby support the combination of the Middletown Transit District and the Estuary Transit District into an expanded Estuary Transit District, provided that the necessary funding is provided by the CDOT. It further agrees to accept the proposed letter from the Connecticut Department of Transportation outlining the intention of the CTDOT to provide the necessary funding to successfully implement this expansion. I don't have a problem with it. If you guys have any further questions for Joe, or if you're okay with it.
It spells out what my questions were with the necessary funding provided by the DOT, so I'm good, I'll make a motion
okay.
to accept the proposed resolution.
I second that.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is Nicholas Olson, Winthrop Construction. Nick let us know right before the meeting that he's not going to be able to be here, so I'm going to ask you guys to table this until our next meeting.
Okay, that's fine with me.
And that's all of our items on the agenda. I see we have a new visitor. You guys are welcome if you want to open up
It's
our new citizens again.
That's fine if you, Mike, you came in last, so I didn't know.
We've already gone past audience and citizens.
Yeah, no, I had late check-ins, I'm sorry, I just wanted to come.
Business, yeah.
Well, we're, okay, then we'll have let's see.
Any updates?
Yeah, Westbrook Road is under construction now.
They're
That turned into, that went a little beyond what we anticipated. The ledge underneath that road,
Which road?
Westbrook Road.
That's the state road.
No, Westbrook Road
Westbrook Road.
heads down by Marvin.
It's into-
yeah, I'm sorry, yeah. I've only lived here my whole life, you know?
So that's under construction.
Okay.
That's,
Okay.
that's taking a little bit longer than we had anticipated because of the fact that we can't reclaim the road that's there. We've got to pulverize it and go through that. It's just, it just can't happen.
Unforeseen.
It was really just paved, not over any kind of good footing. So, we're doing that. After they finish there, they're gonna head up to River Road, finish some of the section there, close to Essex Street.
I see Fox runs,
Fox Run has been
It's-
completed.
oh, it's done, okay.
Or actually, Fox Run, I'm not sure if that's done.
The last time I drove,
Sylvan
it
is
was
done and
gravel.
Mitchell is
Okay.
done. They're gonna come back and do that curbing. I'm assuming that they did Fox Run at the same time. And that will be the extent of our paving for this year. Let's see.
Anything with the COVID money? Anything that,
Yeah, I expect that within a month, we'll have some proposals for some expenditures.
Yeah, there's some news items hitting that various towns are planning
Yeah,
on
yeah.
buying this vehicle or an ambulance or whatever.
Yeah,
so-
we're still researching whether or not an ambulance. I actually met with the Ambulance Association yesterday, and we'll talk more about that as
Yeah.
we have some numbers. They're working on some numbers, but I'm not 100% sure, and Essex is not 100% sure that they can, that the federal government will allow for the
It's-
purchase of an ambulance.
Because it's a separate, it's not a town entity.
No, not because of
It's
that at
not-
all. But
oh,
they're not
okay.
sure, like, I don't think we can use this for fire trucks,
for cap?
for capital.
Oh, okay, all
So-
right. I didn't know if
so
because it
we're-
was a separate, it wasn't a town
Yeah, so
agency. Okay.
We're trying to look into that. It's an interesting thing because you can use it to outfit trucks, that comes under our capital plan. But to actually purchase a truck, there's a question mark about that. And I do not want to spend the
We
money
don't want to,
and then have to pay it back.
Right.
Or find out that we're not able to spend it on that. So we're really researching that. We've got a couple of different advisors from Connecticut Council of Municipalities are working with us on that stuff.
Good.
So,
It looks like the bridge is almost wrapped up at Deep River Farms. They're putting the guardrails on, so that
they're
should
getting
be,
there.
they should be done
They're
pretty
getting
soon.
close, yep. And that's where we have, so I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.